And we're back now with Tom Friedman, the op-ed columnist of the New York Times. Well, Tom, you heard Larry Summers this morning. As he left the studio this morning, I told him he didn't have the best assignment in the administration this morning to come out and try to explain this thing with the AIG. Basically, he gave the answer that we keep hearing. We have no choice. We had no choice but to help the auto companies. We had no choice but to help the banks that made bad loans. And now he's saying we had no choice here, that AIG had these contracts in place for these employees to pay them bonuses, and there's really nothing that the government can do about it. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, what Mr. Summers really articulated, Bob, is what they see their central dilemma. On the one hand, fairness isn't on the menu anymore. Fairness has left the building. From their point of view, all that matters is avoiding systemic risk. And one step we took to avoid the system melting down was that we, the taxpayers, you and I, Bob, we own 80% of AIG today. And their attitude is, look, if you own it, you want to operate it according to its contracts and make the thing work, otherwise we're going to have to pay more. On the other side, you have this really obvious and justifiable anger of people saying, wait a minute. I mean, as you asked in your question, I gave up part of my raise for next year. You did. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people either lost their job or gave up part of their bonus so their company could survive through this crisis. And I sure wish the administration, I know they came to Mr. Liddy, who's head of AIG, who in fairness is working for $1. He didn't start this problem. The people who caused the problem for AIG, you know, the management team, they're gone, you know. But at the same time, you wish they could have come to him and said, look, we know that contractually you get this, these bonuses, but I'm telling you, you better find a way, okay, to dramatically reduce them, postpone them, because there's going to be real outrage by taxpayers.
Do you think there's more coming on this story?
On the AIG story, no, but I think there's more coming on the general problem, Bob. You know, that we're still back where we were at the beginning. We've got this problem of, we've got these toxic assets, these subprime, you know, mortgages on the balance sheets of all these institutions. We got to get them off somehow. That's, you know, one side of it. On the other side of it, Congress, which has already shelled out $350 billion or more from taxpayers, is saying, we're not going to give you another dime. Now that $350 billion that's already been shelled out, that actually just went to prevent the system from melting down. We're going to have to spend a lot more to get those toxic assets resolved. And I think that's the central political dilemma for the administration. And that's where I keep coming, you know, back to this fairness issue. People are so angry at the money that's already been spent, but the money that's already been spent has largely gone to prevent the building from burning down. Not for building a new one.
Aren't they going to have to give more details here? You notice when I asked Mr. Summers this morning, do you know where all this bailout money that has been given to these banks, do you know where it is gone? And there was a long pause. And he said, well, the plan will become known soon. But he really gave no details.
Well, and this has been the Achilles heel of everything President Obama has done on this issue from the very beginning. There's still massive uncertainty, Bob, over what are going to be the rules. And therefore, you can't unlock private capital. You know, there is, some people estimate $1 trillion or more of private capital sitting on the sidelines, just waiting to come in. You could see it last week in the stock market. Just a glimmer of hope in the stock market. No one wants to be late. No one wants to miss this. It's sitting out there, but it's not going to come in until there is some certainty on what the rules of the game are. And the problem with that, getting that certainty, is twofold. One, this fairness issue. It's going to be unfair. People who don't deserve to be bailed out are going to be bailed out. That's one problem. And the other problem is the incredible complexity of the issue. But we've never seen this much leverage, you know, on this much globalization. It's all over the world, wrapped in this much complexity, and started in America. And untangling this incredible Gordian knot that we've created is really going to be difficult.
Well, what about that, the geopolitical aspects of all this? Because really none of that has kicked in yet.
Well, that's what worries me most, Bob. You see the stories of rioting in Pakistan today. We, the United States government, have put a travel advisory out for Mexico. Don't go to Mexico. Hey, that's not Pakistan, that's our neighbor. We've had the luxury these 6 months of the financial crisis, these first 6 months, of really focusing just on the finances. The geopolitical spillout from this crisis in Eastern Europe and Central Asia hasn't really hit yet. And that's why we got to get that certainty. We got to get this tied up, because if the geopolitics starts to kick in, it could really exacerbate all of this.
What about the situation in Pakistan right now? How bad?
I think it's really bad. I mean, it's it's a failing state. The government there does not have basically a monopoly of force over the country. It's one of the two most dangerous places in the world. The other is watch out for North Korea.
All right. Tom Friedman, well, we're not ending on a happy note here, but we're always glad to get your views.
Happiness left the building too, I'm afraid, with fairness.